The story begins in a gourmet world, and in this world there are many different beasts whose entire body is a culinary experience. Also there are springs from which gush forth refreshing beverages made from deep rich juices of the highest quality muskmelons. So we learn that this world is in the gourmet age, and people are enchanted by countless dishes like the meat from One Piece that Ruffy always eats. Then we see a guy named Komatsu running through a forest to find one of the strongest gourmet hunter in the world. At the end of the forest, he found a muscular man fishing. The blue-haired guy named Toriko used a huge monster insect as a bait. A few moments later, Komatsu introduced himself and said that he had come here with a job request for a gourmet hunter. He told Toriko that the International Gourmet Organization, the IGO, asked him to procure an ingredient for a party they sponsored. Meanwhile, something bit on Toriko's fishing rod, and Toriko pulled the beast out of the river. He caught a huge half-fish half-crab monster and was excited. Komatsu was shocked to see such a beast that Toriko had caught. At the same time, a monster bird was about to steal his catch. Toriko had no intention of letting the giant chicken steal his fish. He attacked the monster and knocked him out by smashing him to the ground. After the dust cloud cleared, Komatsu was impressed, and Toriko planned to turn the huge chicken into chicken wings. Komatsu couldn't believe that Toriko had defeated two overpowered monsters, and he was sure that Toriko was the right man for the job. So he asked Toriko to catch a rare gararagotter for the IGO. Toriko was surprised by this request, and he knew that an ingredient of the highest quality, where one slice is worth 100,000 yen. He instantly accepted this request to catch a gararagator because he wanted to taste this delicious meat. A few hours later, Toriko took a small ship to an island to find a gararagator. Komatsu accompanied Toriko, and Toriko was wondering why a weakling wanted to accompany him. He told Toriko that his boss told him to investigate the gararagator. Suddenly Toriko asked if he was a chef, and Komatsu wondered how he knew that. Toriko replied that he thought his hands smelled like top-class ingredients, so Komatsu learned that Toriko's sense of smell is even better than a police dog. Meanwhile, Komatsu realized how impressive the gourmet hunter Toriko was. Shortly afterwards they approached a spooky island called the Barren Archipelago. Komatsu was nervous and was shocked to see strange-looking monsters. Toriko calmed him down and said that the monsters are very careful and cowardly. Then they arrived at the sole entrance to the Barren Archipelago. After that, Toriko and Komatsu got off the ship and decided to row a dinghy to the island. However, Komatsu realized that they were surrounded by sharks. Toriko planned to scare his friend even more and told his frightened friend that the barren sharks were capture level 1. Komatsu was shocked at this because capture level 1 requires 10 pro hunters to take it down. At that moment, Komatsu realized that one wrong move would mean his death. Soon after, Komatsu heard a loud noise, and Toriko explained to him that it was just the roar of one of the 50,000 monsters that live here. Also, Toriko said that the one that reigns over them all is the gararagator they look for. Komatsu remembered that this monster was capture level 5 and not even an IGO tank could take him down. After that, they arrived on the island, and Komatsu followed Toriko. Komatsu was terribly afraid and regretted his decision to accompany Toriko. Suddenly Komatsu sensed that something was sticking to him, but Toriko told him not to worry. So Toriko ripped some leaves from a tree and saved Komatsu from the leech. Later on, after wandering many hours in the forest, a capture level 3 barren tiger appeared that intended to eat Komatsu. He froze in fear and thought that his life would end. Toriko showed the barren tiger that he is the boss and chased it away. Following this, Toriko noticed that something was wrong on this island, because the barren tiger lived deeper in the forest. Furthermore, the cautious Friday monkeys would never have ventured out of their cave. Toriko concluded that the monster habitat is threatened by a monster above capture level 5. As a result, Toriko was excited to fight against the dangerous monster in this island. In the evening, a huge beast with huge claws appeared out of a swamp. We then see Toriko, who had grilled some snake frog for dinner. Komatsu was very nervous and couldn't eat anything, because the closer they got to the gararagatter's territory, the fewer creatures there were. Suddenly, Toriko said he bet that the predator devoured all of the monsters in this area, and Komatsu wasn't happy about hearing this. Following this, Toriko heard a noise, and the water in the river behind them moved. Suddenly, a swamp snake capture level 5 appeared and planned to eat them both. Before the swamp snake could eat Komatsu, it fell to the ground. Toriko noticed a wound on the swamp snake and wondered what kind of monster caused it. Komatsu was shocked because the swamp snake was at the level of a gararagator. Meanwhile, Toriko noticed that some perverted barren leeches were sucking the swamp snake's blood. Then the swamp snake was pulled into the river, and a huge monster with red scales appeared. Toriko realized they were being targeted the second they set foot on this island. Meanwhile, Komatsu was surprised to see such a giant Gararagator in front of him, and Toriko discovered that it was raising barren leeches in his mouth. Toriko guessed that this beast must have lived for over 300 years, because it was twice the size of a normal Gararagator. Also, Toriko finally understood why the monsters on this island had left their territory in the forest. The 300-year-old capture level 8 Gararagator was angry and used his roar. Komatsu told Toriko to be careful, but he was excited to eat this beast's meat. Suddenly the Gararagator started attacking Toriko and he dodged. He grabbed the crocodile by the tail and threw it forward. The beast didn't give up and immediately attacked again, trying to eat Toriko. Toriko managed to dodge the bite attacks and hit it in the face with his fist. Unfortunately, the beast suffered no damage and he hit Toriko with his tail. Toriko was thrown into several trees, but he got back up. He was impressed by the power of the beast he was currently fighting. As a result, he wanted to pay his respects to this monster and he revealed his true power. Komatsu was shocked at this, and he saw a demon that was planning to devour his opponent. Meanwhile, Toriko thanked for the delicious food in the world and planned to dig in. So he tensed all his muscles and his arms turned into a fork and a knife. The Gararagator became angry and tried to devour Toriko. But at that moment, Toriko launched a counterattack with his fork skill. Next, he attacked with his knife and threw his opponent into the air. Finally, he thanked the world for the delicious meal and defeated the monster with these combinations of attacks. Komatsu was impressed, and we see that this battle was being watched by a flying eye. Then we see an ugly magician who reported this to his master. He told his master that the Gararagator was defeated by one of the heavenly kings. The guy on the throne was impressed that the 4 heavenly kings had started making their move. Back to Toriko, we see that he planned to taste the Gararagator meat. Komatsu looked at the marbling on this meat, and it sparkled like the stars twinkling in the night sky. After Toriko tried a bite, he was overwhelmed by the tender and juicy meat. It was like a flood of juiceness, and Komatsu also tried a piece. At that moment, he had a great idea and began to fry the meat on a hot rock until golden brown. After a few minutes, the meat was cooked perfectly, and he shared it with Toriko. Toriko loved his idea and was amazed at Komatsu's cooking skills. Later on, Toriko asked Komatsu why he wanted to accompany him to this dangerous island. Komatsu told him about his dream of becoming a top-tier chef. He said after meeting Toriko, he realized that he needs to know the true form of his ingredients, otherwise he won't be able to make the best dishes. Suddenly Toriko said that food is the reason they get powers. That's why he thanks this world for every delicious meal. Komatsu was impressed by the Gourmet's world's top G and asked him about his dream. So Toriko said that his dream is to create a full-course menu of life. So Komatsu learned that a full-course menu of life is an individual's ultimate meal. It contains 8 courses that a person has selected as their favorite dishes. Then Toriko told him he had decided on one of them so far, and he planned to discover more delicious things in this world to complete his menu one day. Suddenly Komatsu asked if he was allowed to accompany Toriko on his journey. Toriko didn't mind and they started cooking more of the Gararagator's meat. The next morning, Komatsu realized that they had eaten all of the Gararagator's meat. Komatsu didn't know what to tell his boss, and Toriko told him to relax. A few days passed, and we see in the Gourmet age a place where many of these culinary ingredients from this world are sold. Komatsu was looking at a rare Tsuchinoko turtle, and an IGO employee said that if he doesn't hurry, the target will get sold off. Then we see a reporter named Tina, who was talking to a fisherman that his fish doesn't look fresh. Suddenly, the cameraman told her that they were live, and she immediately switched her attitude. Komatsu was surprised at her personality, and she continued to complain to the fisherman that the fish didn't look fresh because its mouth was open. She wanted to become famous, and the fisherman told her that she should just do OnlyFans. Suddenly, Komatsu interrupted the conversation, and he explained that the open mouth worsens the taste of the ingredient. The man was surprised that Tina was right and tried to talk his way out of it. At that moment, Toriko appeared, and the man was surprised that Komatsu was a friend of Toriko. He caught a capture level 4 underbite dragon, and the reporter was impressed. Tina knew that he was one of the strongest gourmet hunters in the world and admired him. As a result, she tried to convince him to do an interview in order to become famous. Unfortunately, her plan failed because Johannes, chief of ingredients development at the IGO's research department, wouldn't allow it. Tina had no intention of giving up, but she was carried away by 2 IGO employees. Then Johannes told Toriko that he has a job for him, and he revealed that the rainbow fruit was ripe. Komatsu was shocked that it was a job about the legendary rainbow fruit, because one droplet juice from this fruit was enough to turn an entire swimming pool into rich, mellow-tasting juice. Also, we learned that this fruit was extinct, but the IGO managed to selectively breed it. Next, Johannes told them about the problem that trollkongs had made a nest around the rainbow fruit tree. This means that no one can approach the rainbow fruit tree. Toriko and Komatsu learned that an IGO tank had attempted to approach the tree, and it was immediately wiped out. They also learned that the trollkongs are at capture level 9. Toriko really wanted to try the rainbow fruit and accepted the job. Meanwhile, Tina was listening to the conversation and planned to become famous with this information. 2 hours later, they arrived at number 8 biotope, nicknamed the Garden. It was an artificially constructed habitat for animals and plants made as close as possible to the nature. Afterwards, Toriko was greeted by some IGO soldiers, and Tina prepared to secretly sneak into the IGO biotope. Suddenly they heard a loud thunder noise, and Toriko explained to Komatsu that the trollkongs were drumming. They learned that it was a gorilla's special way of intimidation. Toriko understood the message, but he was not afraid and planned to enter the biotope immediately. Suddenly he was told that he is not allowed to enter yet, because the rules require soldiers not to open the gate if there is a beast within 5 kilometers nearby. Toriko didn't plan on waiting and wanted to teach the monster behind the huge wall a lesson. Suddenly he tensed his muscles and concentrated his strength into his arms. He used his special technique, spiked punch, to destroy the wall in front of him. Toriko's attack caused a large hole in the wall, and Komatsu was shocked because Toriko's attack could even destroy the wall between the border of the United States and Mexico. Also, we learned that the spiked punch was a punch where he hits the same place multiple times at once. Afterwards, Toriko entered the garden and Komatsu followed his friend. He intended to hurry, but Toriko fell into a trap. Suddenly a trollkong appeared, already waiting for them. Komatsu froze in fear, because there was a powerful trollkong standing in front of him. The giant beast on capture level 9 intended to eat Komatsu, but Toriko prevented it. He used his knocking gun and paralyzed the enemy beast. Meanwhile, Komatsu was surprised that Toriko had used a knocking gun and had not killed the gorilla. Toriko replied that their goal is the rainbow fruit and therefore he has no reason to kill the trollkong. So they continued their expedition, and Toriko couldn't wait to find the rainbow fruit tree. Meanwhile, Tina managed to sneak into the garden and she planned to become famous with her report about the rainbow fruit. A few hours passed, and Toriko was drooling as he got closer and closer to the rainbow fruit. Toriko told Komatsu that the sweet fragrance of the fruit can lure animals and make them swoon. Then we learned that the trollkong doesn't eat fruits, but they build their nests around the tree to eat the attracted animals. Komatsu thought that they didn't have to worry anymore because Toriko had knocked out the trollkong earlier. A few moments later, Komatsu realized that there were more trollkongs living in this biotope and he was shocked about it. Toriko told him that the trollkong he defeated was the weakest of them. Also that his intimidation doesn't work because he was previously licked by the weakest trollkong. Then the trollkongs started making their move and Toriko told Komatsu to grab on his back. He decided to fight the trollkongs and immediately make his way to the rainbow fruit. Then we see Tina, who was frightened after finding a paralyzed trollkong. She was shocked at this and wondered who had knocked out the beast. Back with Toriko, we see that he dodged the trollkong's attacks. He tried to avoid killing them. Instead, he used his knocking gun to paralyze them. Komatsu said that it wasn't the right time to just knock them out. But Toriko replied that he had already told him that their goal was the rainbow fruit. He also said that troll kings taste disgusting, and he explained to his friend that he only kills his prey if he plans to eat it. Komatsu thought his rule was great, and Tina also admired him as a wonderful gourmet hunter for this rule. Following this, Toriko fought against the trollkongs in the rain, and he knocked out more beasts. Toriko realized that there was no end to it, and he planned to find the boss of the trollkongs. Suddenly he was overwhelmed, and he lost his knocking gun. Toriko was in a dangerous situation, but the trollkong sensed his threat. Toriko realized that the smell of the weakest trollkong was washed away by the rain. At that moment, his special technique took effect, and the trollkong sensed the monstrous aura emanating from Toriko. Meanwhile, Komatsu noticed that a white beast was running away. Then lightning struck the ground and Toriko knew they had to hurry. He was looking for the trollkong boss, and Komatsu told him that he saw a white trollkong running away. Then Toriko discovered the silverback, which was capture level 10, and immediately knew that he was the boss of this troop. Toriko was impressed with Komatsu, that he could think calmly in this situation. After this, Toriko started getting serious, and he activated his full power. Following this, he stood in front of the silverback, and he tamed it by petting the capture level 10 beast like a little puppy. Tina was impressed because Toriko was able to achieve a peaceful ending by taming the troll Kongs. However, the troll Kongs understood that Toriko is a top G and they stopped attacking him. The rain also stopped and the rainbow fruit was ripe. Meanwhile, Komatsu was surprised to see Tina, who was overwhelmed by the sight of the rainbow fruit tree. Suddenly she tried to report about the rainbow fruit for Gourmet News. Unfortunately, Johannes stopped her and took her out of the garden. Then we see the villains, who learned that Toriko had found the next rare ingredient. A few hours passed and we see Toriko enjoying expensive meals until dessert was served. Then Komatsu showed up and wanted to serve him his dessert made from the rainbow fruit. Komatsu served a rainbow fruit pudding which gave off a sweet scent that made every person drool. Toriko gave thanks for all the world's bounty and planned to dig in. Meanwhile, Komatsu was jealous because Toriko got to eat this delicious pudding. Toriko did a taste check and the taste flooded his body. He tasted many different fruit flavors at the same time. He had an incredible experience that satisfied all his senses, and he felt like he was reborn. As a result, he started crying with joy, and he made the rainbow fruit his dessert for his full-course menu of life. He also planned to share the pudding with his friend Komatsu and the staff, so he told them all to gather around the table. Then we see a fortune teller who saw that a man with a triple scare under his left eye will soon appear. After that, 3 days passed, and we see a train heading towards the town of Gourmet Fortune. Following this, we see Toriko drank alcohol, and he told Komatsu that he was excited to eat the legendary puffer whale. Komatsu understood his excitement because it was said that the puffer whales had the unique taste of the ocean depths. Suddenly, Toriko teased him and said that Komatsu's mom also tastes like the ocean depths. Komatsu was flattered, and he wasn't mad at Toriko's comment because he wished that Toriko would become his stepdad. After this, Komatsu said he is excited to see the technique of cooking a puffer whale, because inside the whale there is a sack of deadly poison. However, Toriko told him that there are only 10 people in the world who can prepare it, and the person they will meet is not a chef. At that moment, gourmet hunter Zonga appeared, angry because Toriko had bought up all the booze. Toriko didn't know him, and his followers introduced Zonga's full course of life. Komatsu wasn't impressed because Zonga's full course of life ingredients are something he uses every day. Meanwhile, Toriko stood up, and Zonga thought he screwed up after seeing such a huge guy in front of him. But Toriko apologized and offered him to take as much booze with him as he wanted. Toriko was able to resolve the matter peacefully, and he told Komatsu that there were many gourmet hunters on this train who were also interested in the legendary puffer whale. Shortly afterwards, an old man approached Toriko and asked if he could have some of that booze too. Toriko didn't mind, and the old man thanked them for sharing some of the booze with him. Later they arrived at their destination, and Komatsu looked around. He noticed that there are hardly any people in this city. Toriko explained to him that a fortune teller in this town foretells when the beast comes hunting, therefore, the townspeople all hide in their homes at those times. A few moments later, they heard a loud noise and the ground began to shake. Then, a capture level 10 Kuenden appeared, and Komatsu was scared to see a giant Digimon. At the same time, a mysterious guy appeared, walking in Toriko's direction, and he ignored the monster who was planning to eat him. This guy already knew that troublesome guests would visit him. However, he started smiling, and we learned that he is also known as the Gentleman, one of the Heavenly Kings. Koko was happy to see the glutton of the 4 Heavenly Kings again, and greeted his old friend. Afterwards they hiked up a mountain and Komatsu wondered why Koko lived in the Gourmet Fortune. He replied because his current occupation is a fortune teller. Following this, Toriko asked his friend about their friend Zebra, and he learned that Zebra was arrested in the Gourmet prison. Toriko wasn't surprised by this, and he remembered his training with his friends. A few seconds later, an emperor crow flew above them, and Kiss was Koko's beloved pet. While Toriko and Komatsu flew to Koko's house, the villains also made their move. Then we see Toriko again, and he asked Koko if he had finished his full-course menu of life. Koko replied that he had already selected 5 dishes that have excellent nutritional balance. Komatsu was impressed with Koko's selected dishes, because all of the dishes were priceless ingredients with a high capture level. Then they changed the subject, and discussed how they would go about catching the puffer whale without releasing the poison. Koko told them that there is a 10% chance that he can prepare this fish. Afterwards, they learned that the biggest problem is the cave where the puffer whale is, because many dangerous monsters live in this cave. Toriko was motivated and convinced Koko to work with them. Despite everything, Koko got a strange feeling, and he was a little worried about Komatsu, even though he couldn't see a shadow of death over him. Then we see Tina, and she reported about the cave, which contains the puffer whale spawning grounds. She said that only 0.1% of people who enter the cave escape alive. We also learned that the cave is designed like a labyrinth, and that this is the only way to find a puffer whale since these whales live deep in the ocean. 10 minutes later, Tina spotted her favorite gourmet hunter and immediately ran to Toriko. She realized that Coco, one of the Heavenly Kings, was standing next to her. As a result, she planned to shoot exclusive OnlyFans content with both of them. Coco stopped her and replied that he didn't like being filmed. Meanwhile, Komatsu asked if she had uploaded any new videos yet. She replied that she needs new content and she still wants to become famous. Suddenly, Coco said that it wasn't a good idea to shoot a film here because the cave was very dangerous. At the same time, he saw the shadow of death among the gourmet hunters standing in front of the entrance. Then Tina had a great idea, and she wanted to take a selfie with the puffer whale. She asked Toriko if she could accompany his group into the cave. Toriko didn't mind, but he refused to make an OnlyFans video with her. A few moments later, they entered the cave, and Coco told Komatsu not to leave his side, because he was worried about the shadow of death over him. Suddenly, they spotted mushrooms, and Toriko immediately started eating them. Coco was annoyed, because he had told Komatsu not to leave his side a second ago. Meanwhile, Tina was streaming live on Twitch, but Zonga appeared behind her and she was startled. However, Zonga lied and said that he had already ate a puffer whale. But the truth was, he encountered capture level 1 monsters on the way and fled in fear. After that, the monsters appeared, and Toriko was surprised to see Zombie again. They were running away, and he replied that his name is Zonga. Toriko thought they should help them, but Coco said that he don't have to help them, because he doesn't saw a shadow of death over them. After this, they continued without Tina, and Komatsu had difficulty seeing anything in the cave. He knew that Toriko relies on his sense of smell, but he wondered how Coco could see the way ahead of him. So Toriko explained to Komatsu that Coco can see everything from infrared to weak ultraviolet light. Coco told him that he has hundreds of times more visual cells than the average human. As a result, he can also see in the dark without any problems. Additionally, Toriko said that Coco's eyes can also see electromagnetic waves, which he uses to predict people's fortunes. Komatsu was amazed, and he asked Coco if he would be a top-class chef in the future. Coco saw that the shadow of death was getting stronger, and he almost fell into an abyss. At the last moment, he was saved by Toriko, and Toriko said that he should be more careful. Meanwhile, monsters approached, and Toriko discovered a group of capture level 7 scorpion roach. The scorpion roach were deadly poisonous, but Coco planned to take care of them. Coco activated his special ability, and his body turned purple. Suddenly, he jumped to the monsters, but the monsters sensed Coco's poison threat and went away. Komatsu was impressed, and he learned that gourmet hunters create artificial antibodies in their body to go up against poisonous creatures. Toriko have immunity to about 70 different kinds, but Coco has antibodies for almost 500. Following this, he said that after he had created many antibodies in his body itself began to produce poison. As a result, he became a poisonous man who lives an undignified life. Komatsu noticed that Coco seemed sad, and he learned that Coco was being hunted by many scientists because of his ability. Also, he learned that Coco was treated like a dangerous monster, and he understood why Coco doesn't like cameras. After this, Coco discovered a large hole going straight down about 100 meters. Coco planned to go down first, but Komatsu wanted to accompany his new friend. However, they discovered fireflies, and Coco explained that sea fireflies are harmless. Suddenly, Komatsu told Coco that he had a lot of fun, and Coco understood that Komatsu was trying to cheer him up. For this reason, he planned to save Komatsu at all costs, to prevent his newly met friend from dying. Next, Toriko wanted to climb down to them, but they heard a loud scream. They were surprised by this, and planned to investigate the matter immediately. Following this, swallowtail bats flew at them, and Toriko was surprised by this. Coco ordered Komatsu to stand behind him, and he activated his poison ability. He made poison and attacked the monsters with his poison dressing. Toriko found something strange because these types of beasts are usually very peaceful. Coco agreed with him, and he suspected that they were running from something away. Then they looked for Komatsu, and they realized that Komatsu was missing. While the two were searching for Komatsu, a dangerous beast approached them. Coco and Toriko couldn't find their friend, and they were shocked to see the gigantic monster. However, Toriko learned that it was the legendary demon of this cave, a devil python. Toriko and Coco knew that they had to be careful because the capture level 21 beast can cause a very loud scream. Suddenly, the reptilian beast screamed, and many monsters fled from the cave. The scream of the devil python could be heard all the way to the entrance of the cave. The monster also caused the cave to collapse, and the entrance to the cave was filled with stones. Then Tina took out her MacBook, and Zonga learned that she had installed a miniature camera inside Komatsu's helmet. Zonga was impressed, and wondered if she planned to become famous like IShowSpeed with her livestream. After that, Tina wondered what Komatsu was doing, and she was shocked because Komatsu was kidnapped by a weirdo. The guy covered Komatsu's mouth, and Komatsu hoped that the kidnapper doesn't plan to force him to pick up some soap. We then see Toriko, attacked by the python, and he was pushed against the wall. Toriko was surprised by his opponent's enormous strength, and was unable to free himself. Coco wanted to help his friend, but the devil python prevented it. The beast spat acid at Coco, but he dodged in time. Coco realized how dangerous the monster was, because its attack could even dissolve rocks. The monster then planned to spit its acid at Toriko. Coco was worried about his friend, but Toriko unleashed his muscle power. As a result, he was able to free himself from the enemy's clutches, and Toriko looked down at the devil python. In addition, Toriko planned to teach the monster a lesson. He concentrated all of his gourmet strength into his body, and began a counterattack. Toriko used his knife and cut one of the monster's arms. Unfortunately, the devil python had incredible regenerative power, and it caused his arm to grow back immediately. Then Toriko was attacked again, and the enemy threw him against the wall. Toriko became angry and had no intention of losing to the devil python. He also knew how tasty the monster's meat in front of him was, and he intended to devour it immediately. Meanwhile, Coco understood that Toriko was at a disadvantage in this dark cave, but because of his good eyesight, he could clearly see the enemy's position. However, Coco decided to take over the fight and told Toriko to look for Komatsu. Toriko replied that Komatsu knew how dangerous the cave was from the beginning. Coco was worried about Komatsu, but Toriko said that he will be fine. So the two decided to fight together against the devil python, and they clenched their fists for the counterattack. Then we see the kidnapper, and he planned to use Komatsu as bait for the giant beasts in the cave. The reason was that he planned to find the puffer whale first, and Tina was disgusted by such a cruel gourmet hunter. Zonga said he would beat up that disgusting gourmet hunter if the entrance to the cave hadn't collapsed. Tina didn't want to let Komatsu down, and she took out a large amount of chocolate bars from her backpack. Zonga wanted to have one, but she replied that she needed energy to think of a solution. Meanwhile, Toriko and Coco prepared their attack against the devil python. Toriko concentrated all his power, and he unleashed the power of the demon within his body. Coco did the same, and he had the power of a poison demon. Toriko was excited to fight with his old friend against a powerful beast. Then the monster tried to grab them with its arms, but they dodged, and Toriko attacked with his knife. But he couldn't get through the beast's skin because it was hard as steel. Coco was surprised by this, and he prepared an attack with poison. Suddenly Coco shot his poison cannon, but the monster dodged the attack. The devil python became angry, and he splashed acid on his opponent. Coco dodged like a cute cheerleader, and Toriko asked him if he had found the python's weak spot yet. Coco replied that he suspected the beast's weak spot was in its face. So Toriko said that Coco just has to immobilize the beast, and he will use his secret move. Toriko relied on Coco, and he began to tense his muscles to the point of breaking. Suddenly, the devil python started looking at Toriko, and Coco was surprised by it. Toriko wished his friend good luck, and Coco planned to paralyze the monster with his poison. Then Coco took on the beast in a one-on-one, and he had a clear shot at the python's organs. Coco took advantage of this opportunity and shot at the monster's organs with his poison rifle. As a result, the beast began to lose his orientation and suffered terrible pain. Coco planned to attack the monster again with his poison. At that moment he was caught by the devil python. Coco realized that the enemy had other organs with which he could see. Suddenly, the monster prepared an attack and he planned to kill Coco with his acid spit. Coco immediately responded by coating himself in poison. Toriko was worried about his friend, who was unable to avoid the acid attack. However, Coco's poison skin that he created was able to withstand the monster's acid. Then Coco attacked with his poison rifle and tried to free himself. Unfortunately, his attack failed, and the devil python attacked him with his tentacles. He thought he was in a hentai video and was disgusted. Toriko planned to attack the monster to save his friend, but Coco ordered him to stay behind. Toriko asked him if he got antibodies for the devil python's AIDS poison. He answered no, but he wasn't about to give up. Suddenly Coco began to analyze the deadly poison because he didn't want to get AIDS. Coco developed resistance to AIDS, and he invented the coronavirus to paralyze the enemy. Then Coco told his friend that dinner was served. Toriko thanked him and planned to use his muscular right arm to defeat the enemy. Then we learn that Toriko got such a big right arm because he had been watching Brazzers on his phone for the last 2 minutes. After that, he planned to use his secret move that he learned from subscribing to too many girls on OnlyFans. However, he started to tense his muscles even more and attack with his 5-fold spiked punch. Toriko managed to defeat the beast at capture level 21 and he saved his friend. Also, he caught his friend like a princess and Coco told him to keep it a secret. After a little break, Coco planned to go rescue their friend Komatsu, but Toriko said that he was hungry. Also, he told Coco that he doesn't have to worry about Komatsu because he gave Komatsu a secret weapon. Following this, we see Komatsu, who had also encountered a devil python that was planning on eating him.